Why are women obsessed with older men? Why do younger women, beautiful women, intelligent women, accomplished women find themselves drawn to men 20, 30, even 40 years older than them? And why does the culture keep lying about the real reason? Most people will tell you it is the money, the stability, the confidence, the maturity. These are the polite, sanitized answers everyone repeats because everyone is too afraid to say what is actually happening underneath. But there is one dark truth almost no one is willing to name, my friend. A truth that runs deeper than dating advice, deeper than psychology, deeper than every comfortable explanation you have heard. And once you understand it, you will finally see why older men hold a power over a certain kind of woman that no amount of youth, looks, or money can compete with. Tonight, I am going to tell you that truth. Stay with me because what you are about to hear is the conversation everyone is having privately and refusing to have publicly. Let us begin the lies everyone repeats first. Before I tell you the dark truth, my friend, I have to clear the table of the comfortable lies. Because as long as those lies are sitting in your head, the real answer will not be able to land. The first lie is that women want older men for money. This is the lie everyone reaches for first, because it is the easiest one to believe and the safest one to repeat. It lets younger men feel better about losing. It lets women feel insulted, which conveniently shuts down the conversation, and it lets the culture avoid asking the harder questions. But it is not true. If money were the answer, every wealthy man would be drowning in attention regardless of his presence. And you and I both know that is not how the world works. Plenty of rich men are deeply lonely. Plenty of men without much money have women circling them constantly. Money explains almost nothing. The second lie is that women want older men for stability. This one has a kernel of truth in it, but it has been inflated into something it is not. Yes, stability matters, but stability alone produces a boring man, not a magnetic one. A woman does not lie awake at night fantasizing about stability. She does not feel her pulse quicken because a man pays his bills on time. Stability is a prerequisite, not the reason. It is the floor, not the building. The third lie is that women want older men because they are more mature. This one is so worn out it has lost all meaning. Maturity is a word people use when they cannot describe what they actually mean. And it conveniently flatters older men into thinking they are wanted simply because they have aged, which is not true either. Plenty of older men are not mature. Plenty of older men are bitter, stuck, regressed, immature in ways that would embarrass a 20-year-old. Age does not produce maturity, and maturity by itself does not produce obsession. So if it is not money, not stability, not maturity, what is it? What is the thing nobody is willing to say? Let me tell you, my friend. But hold on to something first. Here it is. The reason a certain kind of woman becomes obsessed with a certain kind of older man is that he is the first man in her life who is not afraid of her. Read that again. Let it land, because it is going to take a moment to feel the full weight of what I just said. Almost every man a woman meets is, in some quiet way, afraid of her rejection, afraid of her judgment, afraid of her tears, afraid of her anger, afraid of saying the wrong thing, afraid of losing her, afraid of not being enough. This fear shapes everything those men do, even when they hide it well. It is in the way they over-explain themselves, the way they apologize too quickly, the way they avoid difficult conversations, the way they bend their opinions to match hers, the way they perform interest in things they do not actually care about, the way they cannot hold their ground when she pushes against them. Women feel this fear in men constantly. They have felt it their entire lives. From the boys in middle school who would not look at them directly, From the boyfriends in their 20s who would crumble at the first hint of rejection. From the husbands who could not have a real conversation about anything difficult. From the men at work who treated them either too gently or too aggressively. Both versions stemming from the same underlying nervousness about their power. And then, sometimes, after years of being surrounded by men who are quietly afraid of her, a woman meets an older man who is not. She feels it instantly. The way he holds her gaze without flinching, the way he disagrees with her without apology, the way he does not soften his opinions to please her, the way he does not chase her, does not perform for her, does not adjust himself in her presence, the way his voice does not change when she walks into the room, the way he can sit in silence with her without needing to fill it, the way he can be tender without being weak, and firm without being cruel. This man is not afraid of her, and to a woman who has spent her entire life surrounded by men who were this absence of fear, is the most intoxicating thing she has ever encountered. It is the dark truth nobody wants to say. Obsession. Real obsession is not produced by wealth or stability or charm. It is produced by a man's relationship to his own fear. The older man who has burned away his fear of women, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of being misunderstood, becomes something a younger man simply cannot be. He becomes a man whose center cannot be moved, and women, when they encounter that center, find themselves pulled toward it with a force they cannot fully explain to themselves. Now, you have to understand why younger men, even great younger men, cannot reproduce this effect, because it is not their fault. It is structural. A younger man, no matter how confident he appears, has not yet had enough life to burn the fear out of him. He has not lost enough. He has not been rejected enough. He has not survived enough heartbreak. He has not failed in enough public ways. He has not buried friends, watched parents age, weathered a marriage that ended, faced his own mortality across a hospital bed. These experiences are not optional ingredients. They are the forge. And without that forge, a man cannot develop the unshakable inner posture that comes only from having walked through fire and discovered that he is still standing. This is why a 25-year-old man, no matter how smart, no matter how good-looking, no matter how charming, still carries the faint smell of fear around him. He is afraid of being rejected because he has not yet been rejected enough to know that rejection does not actually kill you. He is afraid of losing her because he has not yet lost enough to know that loss does not destroy you. He is afraid of being wrong because his identity is not yet stable enough to absorb being wrong without cracking. The older man who has done his living, the one who has been through the fire and come out the other side, no longer fears these things, not because he has become cold, but because he has tested them and discovered they are not as deadly as they appear. He has been rejected and survived. He has lost and survived. He has been wrong and survived. So when he stands in front of a woman, he is standing on bedrock that no younger man can stand on, because the bedrock can only be built one experience at a time. And women feel this difference instantly. They do not need to think about it. Their bodies know. Standing in front of a younger man, even a confident one, they feel the faint tremor of fear underneath his composure. Standing in front of the older man who has been through the fire, they feel the absence of that tremor. And that absence is what they have been searching for, often without knowing they were searching for it their entire adult lives. Now, here is where the conversation has to turn personal, my friend, because everything I have just said is meaningless if you do not understand what to do with it. If the dark truth is that women are obsessed with older men who have lost their fear, then the question you have to ask yourself is brutally simple. Are you that man yet? Or are you still afraid? Be honest. This is not a question to answer quickly. Most older men, if they look in the mirror carefully, will discover that they are still afraid in dozens of small ways. They are still afraid of being rejected, so they hold themselves back from approaching. They are still afraid of being misunderstood, so they soften every opinion. They are still afraid of being seen as too old, so they apologize for their age before anyone has criticized it. They are still afraid of losing the woman in front of them, so they perform, accommodate, agree, shrink. Their age has not on its own freedom from the fear. They have just been carrying that fear for 40 more years. The freedom does not come from age. It comes from the willingness to face the things you have been avoiding, to stop apologizing for who you are, to stop bending your opinions to please, to stop shrinking when you should be expanding, to stop chasing approval from people who have not earned the right to give or withhold it, to stop letting fear of loss dictate how you behave in front of the women you actually want. The older men women cannot get enough of are the ones who have done this inner work, often without knowing they were doing it. They have, over years of small decisions, killed the fear inside themselves, piece by piece. They no longer perform. They no longer apologize. They no longer chase. They no longer shrink. They simply stand fully as themselves in front of any woman in any room, without flinching. And that standing, that unflinching, unapologetic, fully rooted presence is the dark truth behind everything we are talking about. It is what produces the obsession. It is what creates the magnetism. It is what makes a woman think about a man long after she has left the room, long after the conversation has ended, long after she has gone home and tried to convince herself she was not affected. There is one more layer to this, my friend, and it is the deepest one of all. I want you to sit with it carefully. A woman in the modern world has been told repeatedly that she does not need a man, that she is complete on her own, that her power comes from her independence, that any man who tries to lead her, challenge her, or hold ground in front of her is somehow oppressing her. She has heard this message her entire adult life. And here is the painful part. On the surface, she often agrees with it. She nods along. She repeats the slogans. She tells her friends she does not need a man for anything. But underneath, in the part of her that does not get to speak at brunch, something else is true. She is exhausted. She is exhausted from being the strongest one in every room. She is exhausted from never being able to lean on anyone. She is exhausted from men who fold the second she pushes. She is exhausted from being told she is too much for everyone she meets. And somewhere in her, often very deep, there is a hunger for one specific thing she cannot find anywhere else. She wants to meet a man she cannot intimidate. She wants to meet a man whose ground she cannot shake. She wants to meet a man who will not crumble when she tests him, will not chase her when she pulls away, will not apologize when he should not, will not flatter her when she is wrong, will not abandon his own opinions to make her comfortable. She wants, in other words, to meet a man she can finally stop being the strong one around. A man whose strength is so settled that she can put hers down for a while. A man who lets her, after a lifetime of carrying everyone else, finally exhale. This is what the older man who has burned away his fear becomes. He becomes, without ever announcing it, the rare safe harbor in a sea of men who are either too weak to hold her or too cruel to keep her. And in that harbor, she finds something she has been quietly starving for her entire life. The relief of being met. The relief of not having to manage him. The relief of finally being in front of a man who is not afraid. This is the dark truth. This is the obsession. It is not about age or money or status. It is about meeting a man who is unafraid of her and feeling for the first time what it is like to be a woman in front of a man who actually has the strength to be a man. So there it is, my friend, the one dark truth nobody wants to say. Women are obsessed with older men who have burned away their fear. Not all older men, not most older men, a small percentage who have done the inner work, walked through their own fires, and emerged on the other side as men whose center cannot be moved. These are the men who hold the power that no younger man can replicate and no amount of wealth can purchase. But I want to leave you with the most important part, because everything we have said tonight is useless if you take it the wrong way. This is not a challenge to perform fearlessness. It is not a script to memorize. It is not a technique to fake. The whole point of what I have just told you is that women can feel the difference between a man who is actually unafraid and a man who is performing the absence of fear. You cannot trick your way into this. You can only become it slowly, honestly, by doing the unglamorous work of facing the things you have been avoiding, one at a time, until the fear inside you has nowhere left to hide. The good news is that age, used correctly, gives you exactly the right material to do this work. You have already lived through enough to know that loss does not kill you, that rejection does not end you, that failure is survivable. The question is whether you have integrated those lessons or whether you are still flinching like the boy you used to be inside the body of the man you have become. Become the man who no longer flinches, and you will discover something extraordinary. Women you would have given up on, noticing you, will find themselves unable to stop noticing you. Younger men with everything you do not have will lose again and again to the simple gravity you have built inside yourself, and the obsession we have been talking about all night will stop being a mystery because you will finally understand it from the inside. You are not too old, my friend. You are right on time. The fire you have been through was preparing you for exactly this. The only question left is whether you will become the man your years have made possible, or whether you will keep carrying the fears of the younger man you used to be. Choose well. The world is waiting for the version of you that has stopped being afraid. If this hits something deep in you, leave a like. Subscribe for more honest conversations about masculinity, age, and the truths nobody else has the courage to say. And tell me in the comments whether this resonated, whether it surprised you, or whether you already knew it on some level you had never put into words. Until next time, my friend, burn the fear, hold your ground, and let the right women feel finally what it is like to be in front of a man who is not afraid.